Welcome. It is World Mental Health Day. Yay. Seems strange to say like happy World Mental Health Day. So welcome to Mental Health Day. I'm so glad that you have taken this time for yourself, taken this time to practice with me. For any of you who don't know me that well, yoga has been an integral part of my mental health for probably about 13 years now. I've been practicing for a while. A little bit of how I got started doing this was that my therapist recommended that I check out meditation. I was doing cognitive behavioral therapy. She was amazing. And she's like, you might benefit from some meditation. And I was like, meditation is not going to work for me. My mind is too wild. I cannot settle down. This is going to be a joke. I turned out to be really wrong about that. But I practiced meditation for a few years. And then I just got to this point where my anxiety and my depression were really amping up. And I felt like the meditation wasn't working anymore. And so just through a total fluke, a friend of mine mentioned yoga. And I kind of realized that yoga, I knew it had something to do with meditation, but I didn't quite get what that was. And what I found is that yoga is a moving meditation. We all have heard that meditation is great for us, but sometimes just sitting there with your thoughts, it's not going to happen, right? Sometimes what is going on inside of us is just too intense to do that. And in those cases, yoga can be so beneficial because we're working with the body. Depression, anxiety, trauma, all of those things involve the body, right? It's not just the mind. So it would stand to reason that if we are going to try to feel a little bit better, we need to include the body in that and not just work with the mind. So that's one of the many reasons that yoga has been really just an essential part of my mental wellness practice. So I know some of you have been practicing for years. I know some of you are like brand new and this is your first time doing yoga. So don't worry about it. If this is your first time, it's going to be okay. I promise I am going to give you modifications, options, and really the most important thing to know for everybody, regardless of if this is your first time practicing yoga or you've been practicing for decades, this is your practice. It's not my practice. It's not anybody else in all these little boxes practice. It is yours. So you back off when that feels right. You push a little harder when that feels right. If you want to lie on this mat for the next hour, half hour, 3 hours, and just breathe, awesome. You are going to get so much out of that. So you find what works for you, right? We have all different levels, abilities. Maybe you didn't sleep last night. Maybe you've not been eating so well. I don't know what's going on with your body. So you do. So you make the decisions. I'm going to offer up a bunch of things. You see what works for you. And it really is all about how are you talking to yourself during the practice? Are you breathing well? And I am going to cue you a bunch of different times to come back to this present moment. So if the mind gets critiquing, analyzing, worrying, obsessing about the past, worrying about the future, we come back. And that is what makes this practice so very powerful, is that in this moment, we have a little influence over our lives. When we are obsessing about past or future, none. It's just a suck of all our energy. So being able to come back to present moment is how we work with the reality of our lives, how we find a little bit of power in our reactions, in the ways that we interpret the world, in the ways that we respond. So we're going to move over to the mat in just a moment. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? You can just unmute yourself. You can put it in the chat if that's better. You're not going to need anything in particular other than like a yoga mat or a space the size of yoga mat. We won't need anything else for this practice today. We're all good? Okay. So we are going to start seated today. So I will meet you over on my mat. I'm going to turn on a few lights, have a seat on your mat, and I will meet you there. I just saw a question. What if you're not that flexible? Perfect. You don't have to be flexible to do yoga. That's the great thing about it. This is a super common thing that comes up. People are always like, oh, I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible. It's kind of like saying you can't eat because you're hungry. So yoga is the thing that helps you to get flexible. But what we're going to do today, whatever your level of flexibility, is perfect. Wherever you're at, yoga meets you there. So don't worry about strength. Don't worry about flexibility. If you continue with this practice more, you're going to find you get stronger and you get more flexible. But there's no like prerequisites here. All right. I am going to move over. I will see you on the mat. Take a seat. All right. So if sitting cross-legged feels okay to you, fantastic, do that. If sitting with legs out front feels better, fantastic, do that. Basically, however you want to sit, if you like to sit with the knees to the side, awesome. However you want to be, to try to be as comfortable as possible. Spine is long, shoulders drop down away from the ears, hands can just rest in the lap. Closing those eyes. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can just lower your gaze down away from the screen. We're just going to take a few breaths here. I'm going to remind you one more time that this is your practice. It does not have to look like my practice. It will not look like my practice because you and I are different. We are all different. So you do what you can, you leave the rest. Most importantly, you watch the ego. You don't beat yourself up. We are immersing ourselves in this practice of gratitude for what is in this moment. Good. Relax through the jaw, drop those shoulders down one more time. Smooth out the forehead. Good. Take one more deep breath in here. Open the mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Excellent. Let those arms come out to the sides now. Take a deep inhale, reach those arms up, gaze goes up. And exhale, hands come through heart center. Good. Inhale, reach up. So we're timing the movement with the breath. Fingertips touch at the top of the breath. And then exhale, hands come down. One more time. Inhale, breathe deep, reach up. And exhale, hands come through heart center. Good. Reach up one more time, this time interlacing the fingers. And then flip the palms so the palms of the hands reach up. Good. So see if you can drop the shoulders down as you reach the arms up. And then shifting side to side ever so slightly. Stretching, warming up the side body here. So every time you come through center, reach up a little bit taller. And then going over side to side. So the tendency is sometimes for one shoulder to come forward. See if you can really keep those shoulders square. Good. One more deep breath in at the center. Inhale. And good. Let those arms come down. So reach those arms behind you. If you can interlace the hands behind you, great, go for that. If not, great, just reach and open up through the heart. If you can interlace, work to get those hands away from the tailbone, squeezing those shoulder blades, maybe the gaze goes up a little bit. Take a deep breath here. And exhale, releasing that, release those arms. Bring the hands to the knees. We're going to do a little bit of seated cat-cow to warm up the spine. Inhale, lifting that heart again, gaze goes up. And then exhale, drop that head down, curling the spine, drawing belly button to the wall behind you. Good. Inhale, lift through that heart. And then exhale, belly button to spine. Nice. We'll do one more time here. Lift through the heart. And curl that spine, dropping chin to chest. Good. Coming back to center, drop those shoulders down. Deep breath in. And let that go. Excellent. Bring your legs out front if they are not already. Knees are bent. Hands come behind you on the mat or on the ground. Lifting through the heart a little bit. And then drop the knees to one side. Good. Knees come back to center. And then drop the knees to the other side. Good. So going back and forth here, warming up the hips a little bit. If you want a bit more of a twist, you can go in the direction of your bent knees, wrap that arm around and look towards the back. Good. Coming back to center. Let's do the other side. Wrapping that arm, looking behind you, getting into that spinal twist. And back to center. Awesome. From here, coming over into tabletop pose. So that just means hands and knees. But the alignment of this is really important. So wrists go underneath the shoulders and knees go underneath the hips. So make sure you spread those fingers wide and then point that index finger straight forward. Good. So holding it right here for just a moment, take a deep breath in and let that go. Excellent. From here, tucking your toes underneath. We're going to move into downward facing dog. Sometimes it's nice to move the hands just a little bit forward to widen your base. Take a deep breath in, engage through the core. Toes are tucked, hips come up and back. So feet are hip width distance. You're going to push your chest back towards your thighs and bend up your knees. So knees can be straight if that feels okay, but if that's intense on the back of the legs, bend those knees up. It's more about getting length in the spine than length in the backs of the legs. So it can often feel like you're slipping here. Engage through the core. Feel like you're drawing your hands back towards your feet and your feet towards the hands. Slight bend in those elbows. Take a deep breath right here. See if you can let those heels lower down towards the mat just a little bit. They never have to reach. Take a deep breath here. And then as you exhale, slowly bend those knees up and walk up towards the top of the mat. Bend your knees a lot. So we're taking a forward fold here. So hands can be on the mat, hands can be on the legs, hands can be interlaced into opposite elbows. But again, here we're trying to get length through the spine. So maybe you want to sway side to side here, shake the head yes and no. Do whatever you need to do to feel like you are getting some space in the spine. Good. Whenever you're ready, drop those hands down, bend those knees a lot, and roll or hinge all the way up to standing. Beautiful. Stepping towards the top of the mat. Just take a moment here, maybe hand on heart, hand on belly. Just notice how you feel in this moment. Notice your breath. Notice the circulation in your body. Notice the connection of your feet on the ground. And then reach the crown of the head a little bit taller. Take a deep breath here. And sigh it out, let that go. Excellent. Drop those hands down. Let's find mountain pose. Mountain pose, feet are hip width distance, and then stacking the body over those heels. So hips over heels, shoulders over hips, earlobes over shoulders, crown of the head reaches up, palms facing forward. Core is engaged, nice and tall here. Take a deep breath. And let that go. Excellent. Bringing the hands to the hips now, and bring the weight over into that left leg and send that right leg back. So taking a big step back, those back toes are on an angle, and then shift that right hip forward and bend into that front knee. So sometimes we tend to go into like a real sway back here. Draw that core in, tuck the tailbone just a little bit, stacking shoulders over hips, bend into that front knee and reach those arms up. This is warrior one. Dropping shoulders down, lifting through the heart, setting the gaze in one spot. Good. Relax through the jaw, relax the face. Take a deep breath right here. And then exhale, cactus those arms, draw elbows down toward your hips and lift through your heart. Squeeze shoulder blades behind you. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, reach those arms up. Beautiful. Bringing those arms down, hands to hips, come up on the back toes. And then step it up. Palms face forward. Mountain pose. Good. Let's do that other side. Weight comes into the right. Step that left leg back. Big step. Back toes on an angle. Sink into that front knee. So it can be a little bit, it can be more. Just make sure the knee doesn't go beyond the ankle. You can walk that foot out if you need to. Having them stacked is just safer on all the joints. Drawing right hip back this time. Tuck the tailbone a little bit, sit down a little lower. Whenever you feel ready, arms come up. Gaze is straight ahead. Make sure you are not gripping the mat with the toes. Let the toes relax. Tuck that tailbone one more time. Take a deep breath here. And then exhale, cactus those arms, squeeze the shoulder blades, gaze goes up, heart lifts, keep breathing here for 3, for 2, and 1. Reaching those arms up, release them down to the hips, come up on those back toes, Gently, slowly step it up. Palms face forward. Deep breath in. Long, slow exhale. Do that again, paying attention to each breath you take. Deep breath in. Sigh it out, let it go. Excellent. Let's come down to the floor again. So taking a seat here, legs are out long. So we'll start in staff pose. Hands next to the hips. Spine is long. And then flex the feet, so toes pointing back towards the face. Good. So this might be a lot, especially if you have tight hamstrings. So feeling free to bend up those knees if you need to. That's absolutely fine. If you want a little bit more here, either with the knees bent or the knees straight, you can reach the arms up, hinging at the hips, and then dropping the hands down to wherever they land. So coming into a forward fold here. Again, if this is giving any pain to the low back, bend up those knees. So taking that hinge with the hips, leaving the chest upright. So not coming into this sort of collapsed forehead to knee scenario, but lifting through the chest. Probably feeling the stretch all along the backs of the legs here. Thinking about drawing the collarbone to the big toes. Take a couple of deep breaths right here. Drop shoulders down. Good. Fill up those lungs and let them go. Excellent. Coming up to seated here. Bending up those knees now. We're going to do a little bit of core work. So sitting on the bum, feet are on the mat, knees are bent. You're going to reach the arms forward here, shoulders drop down, and then just lean back a little bit until you feel those abs turning on. You're going to feel the core here. Shoulders drop down, heart lifts. You're just going to hold right here. This is a modified version of boat pose. You're going to start to shake. That's good. Find that shake. That's where the strength comes from. That's where the change comes from. I'm going to hold it right here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Hug those knees in, coming forward. Make sure you're breathing still. Excellent. Releasing down onto the mat. Make sure there's nothing behind you you're going to hit. And then bring those knees into your chest, rocking side to side. Maybe you want to release the arms and let the knees come all the way to one side and then all the way to the other side. Getting a bit of a spine twist here. Good. Bring those knees into chest one more time. Give them a hug. And then release those legs. Legs can go long here, or if it's more comfortable for you, you can bend up the knees. We're going to take Shavasana, which is resting pose. So if you want, palms can face up. That can be nice and opening for the shoulders. If that's not comfortable, don't do it. You can lie on your side or on your belly or even sit up if that is more comfortable. But the entire point of Shavasana, of this resting pose, is that we have done a little bit of work for the body. And so now we can let the mind and the body rest. So coming back, if the mind wanders, which it very well could, because that's what human minds do. Just coming back to this moment, feeling the sensation in the body of this inhale, of this exhale. Maybe scanning the body to see if there's any lingering tension anywhere. If you find that place that is tense, on your next inhale, bringing that part of the body to mind, and on the next exhale, imagining that it is melting just 5%. Deepening the breath just a little bit here. Maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes. Maybe reaching those arms up. Maybe drawing knees into your chest. And then when you're ready, coming back to a seated position. Taking your time getting there, moving slowly, keeping those eyes closed if you can. And then once you're back in your comfortable seat, you can rest the hands in your lap. You can bring hands to heart center. You can stack your hands on top of your heart, whatever feels best here. And just taking a moment to acknowledge a sense of gratitude for one thing in your life, just one. It can be the smallest thing. It can be the fact that you are breathing today. Take another deep breath in through the nose. And sigh that out, let it go. Thank you so much for joining me for World Mental Health Day. I know this has helped my mental health, so I really hope that you found it to be beneficial. This is what we do at Blue Mala every week. If you are interested in becoming a member, it is a pay what you can membership. Pay $1 a month, that's fine with me. I hope you will come back and join us for more of this. May you be well, be safe, be happy, be healthy, and live with peace. Namaste. Thank you so much, everybody. I am going to come back to the screen. If anybody has questions, I have a few minutes to chat. Thank you. If you need to leave right now, I totally get it. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope to see you at more Blue Mala classes. We do yoga, meditation, we have office hours, which are so unbelievably fun. So I hope you'll look into a membership or share that with somebody else who could benefit from it. And I'll see you next time. Bye. That's great. Robert, I just saw your chat. Again, if you don't have a mat, it's totally fine. Having a mat can help with that kind of slippery feeling. It's often easier on a mat. It has a little bit of stickiness to it. So kind of on, definitely on hardwood floor or on a carpet, you're gonna feel like a little slippery. And so that can be really helpful to have a mat. If you go on bluemala.com, I actually have recommendations of a couple of different kinds of yoga mats, depending on your budget and kind of what you're wanting to spend. But I have recommendations on there for you. You're so welcome, Sally. Yeah, steady rhythm with the breath. That just comes with time and practice. So most of us are not really used to working with the breath in that way. And so it can really take a little while to get used to. And I know sometimes like I will say inhale and exhale and people are like, oh my God, what if I am exhaling when you say inhale and then do it opposite? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to remind you to breathe and breathe as slowly as possible. So it's not a problem. Like you don't get kicked out of yoga if you inhale on the exhale. It's all fine. I'm just thrilled you're breathing. Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad. It's so lovely to see your comments. I'm really glad that you've been enjoying this. That's awesome. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? I'd love to know how you're feeling. Oh, Molly, you're so sweet. Thank you. Andrew, your cat totally did not disrupt anything. So this is one of my favorite parts, honestly, about teaching yoga online is the dogs, cats, and kids that come in, and this is life, right? Like this is what we do now. Olive did not happen to interrupt this class, but she often does. So this is just how we do it. And I mean, it's amazing because what I love about yoga is that it is like a training ground for the real world, right? Like everything we practice there is like how to self-soothe, how to deal with our reactions, how to deal with our inner critic and our ego. Like it's all for out in the real world. And so that's why it's perfect that like animals and life intrudes, because that's what real life is, right? Real life is not silent and, you know, it gives you the space that you need when you need it. It just doesn't work that way. And so I always love it when the animals come. Great question. So Blue Mala yoga classes are an hour long. They're on Mondays live from 12 to 1. But, oh, and I'm seeing a dog on the screen now. I love that. Fantastic. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, Blue Mala classes are an hour. Generally, the actual practice ends up being about 45 minutes, because I talk at the beginning. I do a little bit of a lecture on kind of how to use yoga for anxiety in our lives. I will read a quote. I will talk about a theory. I will talk about kind of the history of yoga. I will talk about my history with yoga and how I found it to be helpful. So I talk a little bit in the beginning, and then we do a practice that's very similar to what we did here. And then we have Shavasana, and Shavasana is normally significantly longer than this, which I see Mike smiling because I know for Mike, Shavasana is his favorite part. And so we have a much longer resting pose at the end. So in terms of like when we're actually doing the postures, it's maybe 40-ish minutes for that practice, but we leave an hour, and there are sometimes, we'll talk and I'll answer questions and things like that. But it feels very similar to this. It's just a little bit longer. And so if you can't show up to that live, it's totally fine. Blue Mala members get access to the library of all of those past classes. So you can do that on whatever time. I know time zones and jobs and responsibilities are tricky. So I'm really glad that I can offer that as an option to do kind of on-demand classes. Oh, Robert, that would be lovely. You can send me an email. We'll discuss that. Fantastic. All right, let me see if I missed any questions here. You're so welcome, Vicki. Glad you were here. Awesome. All right. I want to respect everybody else's time. I don't want to go over too long. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope to see you at more classes in the future. Take care, everybody. Drink lots of water today. Rest. All right. Bye.
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 Thank you so much, Lisa.
My pleasure.